Anyway, that's not the only horrible people we have for you. Why don't we turn to this next one? On Hollywood Boulevard, not far from here in LA, there was an anti-vax protest, and one of the anti-vaxxers decided to use an unhoused individual as effectively a prop in their propaganda, and this happened.
Quick question, is unhoused an alternative to homeless? Is it like a less degrading word for homeless? Because I've never heard that term before. I'm just curious. Huh. I've actually seen this before.
You can probably hear Edwin laughing.
I've seen this before. Yeah, this is good. I'm vaccinated, you dumb. Whatever they said. Oh, man.
One who told me about this video initially this morning. So if you couldn't make out, she said, "Why are all these homeless people dead in the streets?" And he said, "Because I'm vaccinated, you dumb F." Just the best, Adrian.
This is the thing, is that these people who protest anti-vaxxers, they clearly don't care about homeless people at all. Like, the fact that they're using them as like a prop, like you said, to prove a cheap political point and to spread their misinformation is pretty disgusting. So that response was just so satisfying.
Adrian, what are your thoughts? I need to collect myself.
Hey, I still look at the unhoused people that they got. They're quick on it. That's fantastic. I just don't understand people out here nowadays. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. I love the response, the quick narration there. But anyway, it is a serious topic, not just anti-vaccine misinformation. That's serious. You get
how many unhoused people actually died from COVID or homeless? How many homeless people are of COVID? Let's have a look here. People who are homeless are invisible victims of COVID-19. Wouldn't you? I mean, they would be, wouldn't they, I should say. Let's see, Los Angeles, they are invisible this is a source stat. The source is called marginalized. Los Angeles, they are invisible victims of COVID, marginalized not just in life but in also death, despite the extraordinarily detailed statistics that pass the ages, races, and comorbidities of the nation's more than 500,000 COVID deaths. No one seems to have any idea how many homeless people have died. One attempt to track all US COVID homeless deaths through official records turned up just 373. It's believes vast undercount it would be. Advocate housing status. One study showed the mortality rate of homeless people in New York was 75% higher than the city's rate. It's just that in accounting of these deaths, that homeless people themselves seem to have slipped through the cracks. Yeah, there's much data on like how many homeless people have actually died from the pandemic, but yeah, still pretty disgusting to use them as a political ploy like this lady did. A political tool, I should say.
We take that seriously at this point, but also the situation of the unhoused, both in terms of access to vaccination. So that individual is vaccinated, but according to the LA County Department of Public Health, the rate is pretty big between the unhoused and the county at large. 43.5% for the unhoused, 60.6% for county residents overall. So that is there's a fairly big gap. And one study has showed that the mortality of homeless people in New York was 75% higher than the city's rate during the pandemic. So, like, for her, it's a punchline, I guess. Or, it's even darker than that. She's trying to imply that if it hasn't killed even the homeless, how could it possibly be serious? But it has been killing a lot of
Yeah, it's such a It's like I just said, such a cheap political ploy.
Individuals, and it has left many with long-term side effects. So the reality is a lot darker than the sort of attempted co-opting of this individual by that one person.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate too, because there are so many unhoused populations that have suffered with this pandemic. And then in addition to that, to be able to provide the COVID-19 vaccine, it requires, the individual come back in 2 weeks and to get another follow-up shot. And the thing is
yeah, the nerve of these people who probably don't, well, everyone should get vaccinated, probably don't need the vaccine as much as the homeless people they're using as props. So to go there and to and to be that manipulative and to sort of say, well, what about these guys? It's like it's tone deaf. That's what it is. It's just such a reflection of a lack of empathy and being blinded by privilege. I don't know how privileged these people are, but they're not homeless and they're more privileged than the unhoused, obviously.
Or unhoused, you may be more likely to be transient. And so to know when to go back and also to be able to access it and get back, that can be very difficult. So to be able to provide them with social services where they get the information, the knowledge, they can be contacted and get the follow-ups that's necessary, it's something that really needs to be focused on. And
I didn't really have much to say about this video. I'm going to try something else. Dave, here's turning the corner, explained. What was the other one? Oh, here's the other one. Try this one. This is pro-vax versus vaccine hesitance, the middle ground. This is by the YouTube channel called Jubilee.
This video, we just want to acknowledge.
I've seen this before, but I don't remember it. But I remember being annoyed while I was watching it, so that should make it entertaining.
This is obviously a very sensitive topic, especially coming out of what's been an incredibly difficult year battling the coronavirus pandemic. But as vaccines are starting to roll out, this is also a very real and current conversation that we're seeing happen within our communities and all around the country. So our goal with this video was to just earnestly portray various perspectives that we were hearing, and not necessarily that we condone these perspectives, but to understand why people are feeling the way they might be.
It's good to understand why people feel the way they do, but it is like a little, I would say it's a little bit irresponsible to set this debate up as if there is two sides to this issue. It's kind of like when they do climate change panels and they have 50% say this, 50% say this, and it's but 99% of the experts agree on that climate change is real. The vaccines are no different. It's like you're creating a false equivalency, I think. But as long as this content is out there, it's worth responding to, I guess.
As always, please seek out experts as you're making your own decisions. And above all else, we want to encourage you to see each other's humanity.
I'm not an expert, just so anyone knows. I'm just responding to videos.
Feel more empathy. Enjoy the video.
Over the past year, I've been integrally involved in treating COVID-19 patients in the ICU as I'm a critical care physician. I'd never seen a disease like this in my 20 years of experience. This virus kills you slowly, methodically, and without mercy.
I'm a registered nurse, and I think the COVID vaccine is very important because it prevents
skeptics without mercy, slowly killing you. Come on.
infection, and not just for us and for our families.
We've all been at home for the better part of a year, and we have to make some tough decisions about our health and how we're going to interact with each other in the future.
Yep. Correct.
Why am I skeptical? Well, there's been a lot of misinformation. This COVID thing has been very political. I'm not anti-vaccination. I'm just more skeptical about the COVID vaccination.
I feel like it's not safe yet.
These people always say that. They always say they're skeptical, but they're not really, because skepticism implies that you're, what's the word I'm looking for? You're analyzing something critically, but these people don't. They just kind of deny, and then just kind of throw out pieces of information that they've seen that aren't reliable. That isn't really skepticism. It's not rational. It's not skeptical. It's not critical. You're not critically examining anything. It's just, I don't know. It's just what's the word? when you're like contrarianism for the sake of it. It's just stubbornness, I think. But see what he has to say, I guess.
There hasn't been enough testing done on this vaccine.
That's BS. There has been plenty of testing. There's like a whole documentary I watched about how the mRNA vaccine came about. And the reason why it got made so quickly is because the mRNA technology for SARS and for COVID viruses was already in development in like, I can't remember how long ago, but like years ago. So they already had a head start and a foundation to work on. And on top of that, they fundamentally restructured the testing and development process so that the process would be quicker. It wasn't rushed. It was just fundamentally restructured to make it go quicker. I think it was National Geographic did a whole documentary I watched on this. And not only that, on top of that, we're talking about a global pandemic that is affecting everyone's businesses, everyone's countries, everyone's way of life. So every corporation, government, whatever, had every incentive in the world to back this vaccine. So yeah, of course it came out, quickly. It wasn't rushed. That's been debunked by everyone and their mother like a million times, but people still cling on to this. Just mind you, this video is like from earlier this year, but still.
I don't think that it's a one-size-fits-all.
I'm not for the COVID vaccine because the evidence doesn't add up to that being necessary in order to survive.
It actually does, and the evidence since this video came out is way more overwhelming now. Like, look at Denmark. I'm going to go through I've got a video on here I'm going to go over soon about Denmark. 80% vaccinated, I believe, and they're like back to normal pre-pandemic life, basically. I don't know how long that will last. They might have to go back into a lockdown or something, but for now, it's like they're overwhelmingly effective. So I don't know if this guy's changed his stance or what, but yeah, the evidence is overwhelming, so he's just wrong there.
Only been one side of the story told, and been a side of death and sadness and depression, and I don't believe that's the whole truth.
Yeah, because this is a deadly virus, so not much good can come out of it.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline. I'm a registered nurse for 2 years, and I'm excited to be here and extremely nervous.
My name is Thomas Yadegar. I'm a critical care physician, and I supervise a team of 20 physicians. And on a normal day, we take care of about 120.
So in other words, he's actually qualified to talk about this.
Patients in a hospital and about 40 to 50 patients in ICU.
While these other three pricks aren't. Not the people on his side, the vaccine skeptics.
My name is Kelly. I am a teacher. I've been teaching for 16 years, and I'm just very excited to be here.
Yep, educated.
My name's Siaka Massaquoi, and just an individual that loves this life and wants to just see the best for everybody in it.
Hello, my name is Percy. I'm an actor.
Thanks for the follow. Yes, I am reacting. I'm just I'm reacting to videos about vaccine misinformation, and I'm responding to them because that's kind of the theme of this or what the theme of my stream, or one of the themes is like debunking pseudoscience and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm mostly just reacting to this videos I saved earlier. But thanks for the follow, Isolog at 187. Yeah.
Podcaster, and I'm just grateful to be here.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I am a stay-at-home mom. I have a 4-year-old. I'm definitely not here to change anyone's mind, but just to share my own personal experience and my views on things.
Can I please have my pro-COVID vaccine folks on the left and my skeptics on the right? The first prompt is, COVID-19 scares me. Please.
We can't send some music. I'm not really doing that kind of. I'm not really taking requests. This is just sort of I'm mostly just reacting to videos I downloaded earlier. But yeah. But if you want to send some to me, I can listen to it later. But I don't really take requests when I'm reacting. But yeah, no thanks anyway. Though.
Forward if you agree with the statement.
Actually, I might change the reacting to videos movie talk. I might change the title a little bit just to make it more clear. Reacting to videos about yeah, that might be a little bit clearer just because a few people have asked me that. Here we go. Oh, wait, did it save it? Right.
Yeah, so for me, I have asthma. I was born with it, which is why I keep myself isolated. I just don't want to put myself in a position where I got to call my mom and say, hey, come to California. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, for me, COVID.
Oh, what was the? I missed that question. Hang on, I'm going to go back a little bit.
Statement.
Yeah, so for me, I have asthma. I was born with it, which is why I keep myself.
Here we go.
The first prompt is COVID-19 scares me. Please come forward if you agree with the statement.
That's why he brought up his asthma. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, so for me, I have asthma. I was born with it, which is why I keep myself isolated.
Yeah, just so people know, my country had a that was COVID free for like since 2020, through pretty much all of 2020. We recently just had an outbreak, and we're our biggest city's back in level 2 for the first time in like over a year, and we're like having to wear masks and all that. So I've sort of become interested in like vaccine hesitancy and why people are skeptical, and yeah, that's kind of my rationale for doing this stream.
I just don't want to put myself in a position where I got to call my mom and say, hey, come to California. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, for me, COVID with family members, friends who have gotten sick, friends who have passed away. I'm just very concerned for my parents, my aunts, my cousins, everybody, so including myself.
Right.
I actually work with COVID patients since the very beginning, so I'm also scared that I can contact from my patients and I can give it to my parents.
I think the thing that scares me most about COVID is that it is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
A year ago,
at least he's taking the virus seriously, which is good.
The first patient in LA County came to our hospital. 13 people that were on a ski trip in Italy. And when I walked into the room to talk to him about it, what he told me kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah.
7 of them ended up getting hospitalized. 2 of them were on a respirator, were on blood pressure medicines, on ECMO, fighting for their lives. And these are people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. That right off the bat.
If they were around that age group, I suppose there would be a disproportionate amount of serious cases.
Caused me to call all my relatives and tell them, stay the hell home, be careful, hunker down. Despite being in cameras, I'm actually intensely private. This is not something that I'm comfortable with. But I started posting things on Facebook to alert people to the threats of what was coming our way, because this is no ordinary virus.
Okay, can we please have our disagreeers come and join us?
I thought I was going to be the only one.
I guess I would say it doesn't scare me in the same manner as I've heard from you guys, because I had it. I got it back in January before it was cool. Yeah, I'm good now, right?
Yeah, I've noticed. I don't want to make assumptions about him, but I've noticed this trend where people they get the virus and then they kind of they kind of say, "Well, I didn't have it that bad, so what's the big deal?" And it's like, okay, but you're one of the lucky ones. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if I can't think of a good analogy. Like if you're in a car accident and you don't get injured, and you say, well, then why have road rules? I wasn't in a car. It's like, yeah, but some people die or break their necks in car accidents. Yeah, I don't know if that's the road this guy's going down. It might be. I've seen this video a while ago, but yeah.
4-year-old mom who came to visit had it, my 6-year-old godson, my 3-year-old godson, my 40-year-old best friend, 32-year-old roommate. The kids went through like this. My mom, 11 days. It was weird for her, but she's healthy as hell. And that's my own personal story. And then I have not changed my lifestyle since this thing started. If anything, I've gone out more. I've been going to rallies since June. And I've been around multiple people of all ages, consistently hugged, hung out with every Saturday for 6-7 months. Nothing. But yet I'm only being told one side of the story.
Well, for me, it's not really a fear.
Yeah, that's pretty irresponsible, because he's not thinking about. He's just going with his own personal experience. He's not going with what the data is saying. Like, how many people got sick because of him going out like that? You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a classic case of like, well, I don't know anyone that had it that bad, because the kids got it, but they're not as high risk as the adults are. You know what I mean? So this is a classic case of someone going off their personal experience and not really thinking about the what the broadly what the data set is. It's, what's that quote? You can't see the forest through the trees. Because if you're just looking at the trees, you can't see the whole forest. Yeah, he's not looking at the actual death rate, which is like 1 in 100 consistently all over the world. And that's not even that's before the Delta variant. And most of those people are like have pre-existing conditions, but still, yeah, people forget about the impact they're having on other people when they do stuff like that. But I mean, people. This is like a broader issue with people that don't know how to read. People don't really know how to think think like, how do I put this in statistics or anything? People look at like what their personal experience is. Like, a lot of people who took the vaccine, they did it just because they're like, well, my mum's old, or this blah blah blah. With this, personally, I'm not saying I'm unique to other people, but when I got vaccinated, it was because I wanted to be like, I wanted to be part of the solution in terms of like, I want everyone to get it, to try to keep the vaccine at bay and to stop restrictions, to stop hospitals being overwhelmed, to stop the death rate, to hopefully end the virus. Although I don't know if that will do the trick, but it's a good start. Where there's a lot of people, they weren't really thinking, and a lot of people have trouble thinking in that way, which I understand. People think about their own personal experience of their own purview, and that's kind of what this guy's doing. He's kind of like, oh, everyone I know who had it did fine, and I did fine, and blah blah blah. And I haven't seen anyone. It's like, well, you're one of the lucky ones. You know what I mean?
Because I grew up undocumented, so there's a lot of other things that I grew up fearing, cops being one of those. And COVID, it got my grandmother, it got my aunt, my uncle. My aunt and uncle did pass away in Mexico. It got a handful of my friends. But to say that I'm afraid of it and to like change my life and stay home and then feed that to my 4-year-old, that's not the way that I have chosen to live, because I do agree that fear and
that's one of the hardest things about the whole situation is people like having to it's people's what do you call it, way of life being interrupted, and that sucks. I agree, because people want to just socialize and all that, and that's what is making it hard to keep people in lockdown and all that. And this is why I'm such an advocate for people getting vaccinated, because the more people are vaccinated, the more we won't have to worry. But I've noticed this weird trend where people who are like get annoyed at lockdowns and annoyed at restrictions and annoyed at hearing about COVID all the time are the same people who tend to not want to take the vaccine. And it's like, well, the best way around restrictions and all that and is being vaccinated. And that's the thing I always say. So it shocks me that she's saying, I don't want this to affect my way of life. And it's like, well, we won't have to if everyone gets vaccinated. People want to have it both ways, but you sort of can't in a situation like this, in an abnormal situation like a pandemic.
itself can cause so much stress. It can lower your immune system, and it can just put your mind in such a state of panic and trauma that I feel like that in itself can be so much more detrimental in the long run.
I think that
I hear what she's saying, but it's not really true because like COVID, it kills like 1 in 100 roughly on average, and you also have long haul COVID, which is like lung issues and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if I would agree with that, but I do think there are also downsides to the restrictions. But no one disagrees. It's just the alternative is worse. That's the problem.
that's my big issue with it because I just after this thing, then what?
Sorry, I'm just editing something real quick. Here we go. Where was I?
We're too afraid to come up to strangers.
Yeah.
Like, how are we supposed to get our stuff?
Yeah, that's definitely a consequence, but I feel like I'm a broken record. It's like, that's why if everyone gets vaccinated, the quicker we can get out of the pandemic, because we're already, at the point of no return when it comes to the stuff he's talking about. So, yeah, it shocks me that people don't really understand this. And I think people need to drill that home more, who are arguing for people to get vaccinated, whether it's the government or whatever. They need to say, like, here's the rewards to getting vaxxed. You can go back, be like Denmark, and go back to, we can be like them, or we can be like Iceland. I think Iceland are lifted most of their restrictions. I could be wrong there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have, besides some. But then, yeah, guys like this will also kind of argue against the vaccine, which will put us back at square one if we don't take it.
You should be aware. I don't think it's ever good to cause mass fear on the population. But I think, knowledge is power.
Yep.
So you have to be able to understand what's going on around you and adapt around you.
What I've had to do with my students is to make them aware of it being okay. Have you gone outside today? Did you go get some fresh air? Okay, let's do some exercise. Do a plank competition in the house. To be something that's active because they are so recluse. And that's the part that is concerning.
Within the first few weeks.
She strikes me as such an empathetic person, which is good.
One of my doctors asked me to see a patient. She'd been into the emergency room 3 times within a week. She was convinced she had COVID. And she had some of the symptoms. She had chest tightness, shortness of breath. And they were going to do a 4th test. Her 3 previous ones were all negative. So I walked in, and I'm like, do you have any kids? She's like, yeah, I have a 10-month-old, but he's fine. Don't worry about him. I'm like, what do you mean he's fine? Don't worry about him. She's like, I use Clorox. I just make sure that this virus doesn't come anywhere around. I'm like, what about with your groceries? She's like, my groceries, I use bleach on them.
Oh, no.
I told her, I'm like, I looked at your CAT scan. You don't have COVID, but you have a chemical pneumonitis.
Yes.
Yeah, she swung the pendulum too far the other way.
All this bleach from all these chemicals that you have introduced, you just put yourself in harm. And I'm like, go home, do what you normally do in terms of
water
cleaning
stuff.
Wash your hands. Some of the stuff that was coming out in the first few weeks, it lingers in the air for 3 hours. It lasts on surfaces.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff wrong. Coronavirus objectives literally die within hours to days. Warmer temperatures and exposure to sunlight reduce the time the virus survives. The Centers for Disease Control Prevention 16.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the TV and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
What? This is a respiratory virus.
I just feel like it has been blown to a proportion that it doesn't need to be. Yes, be safe.
I wouldn't say overall it's been blown out of proportion. I think that there is some exaggeration depending on where you are. I think here in New Zealand, we've handled it about as well as we should for any virus. Outside of, at the moment, I don't think they're pushing the vaccine hard enough. But I think generally we've treated the virus with the severity that it should be treated. But that's also because our health system wouldn't handle the overwhelming what do you call it, consequences to it spreading. So.
But you don't have to run around, bleaching your vegetables. Like, what is that doing? I would just say, like, take it seriously. Don't wait until your mom or your grandmother's in the hospital to say, oh, take COVID seriously, because
he's the most reasonable out of these three, I think.
Seen that all year, and it's not getting us nowhere.
True.
Everyone should get a COVID-19 vaccine.
Yes, correct.